Welcome everyone to Things Around 8. Dear friends, in this video we will talk about a plan prepared by NATO to create corridors in Europe that will allow, in the event of a military emergency, up to 300,000 alliance soldiers to be quickly sent to the border with Russia. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now and activate the notification bells so you don't miss any news. When NATO was created in 1949, its objective was quite clear: to create a military alliance capable of facing Stalin's gigantic Red Army on equal terms, which at that time had more soldiers, planes and tanks than all the European countries combined. For this reason, the new alliance needed to count on the presence of the United States, the only full nuclear power at that time. For decades, NATO fulfilled its role perfectly, preventing, through deterrence, the Soviet Union from attacking any member country. But in 1991, the Soviet Empire, the sole reason for the creation of the alliance, collapsed in a resounding manner, leading many to question the alliance's existence. However, what happened was exactly the opposite, with many of the countries that had previously been trapped within the sphere of influence of Soviet Russia showing interest in joining the alliance. The reason for all this interest was quite simple: the fear that Russia would rise from the ruins of the Soviet Union and return to being the imperialist and expansionist power that it had been in the past. And it was thus, based precisely on this argument, that nations such as the three Baltic countries, Poland, Romania, Bulgaria and Hungary, rushed to join the alliance, while Russia was still rising from the ruins. All the fear that motivated these countries to join NATO materialized in 2008, when Russia invaded small Georgia, occupying militarily since then about 20% of that territory. And in 2014 came another confirmation that Russia intended to return to its old expansionist policy by invading and annexing the Ukrainian region of Crimea and by starting to finance a separatist war in Donbass. And as if all these signs were not enough, in 2022 came another, even stronger one, with Russia launching a gigantic invasion against Ukraine, aiming to annex Donbass and the rich Ukrainian regions in the south, on the shores of the Black Sea. This second invasion of Ukraine definitively ended any doubts that there were regarding Putin's expansionist appetite, leading historically non-aligned nations such as Finland, neutral since 1945, and Sweden, neutral since 1812, to decide to join NATO. For the Finns and Swedes, if Putin invaded Ukraine with the sole purpose of annexing lands, he could perfectly well do the same to them, with the only way to prevent this being through NATO membership. However, despite the fact that on paper NATO has 3.5 times more soldiers, 4.5 times more aircraft, and twice as much armor than Russia, this gigantic force is spread across 32 countries on 2 different continents. This means that if Putin is quick and forceful enough, he could theoretically advance on some NATO member countries in Eastern Europe before the alliance is able to concentrate its gigantic force to counterattack. Although this is a highly unlikely scenario, many senior members of Vladimir Putin's regime and many Russian propagandists insist that a lightning Russian attack on some of the more peripheral NATO member countries, such as Finland, the 3 Baltic countries and Romania, could, under certain conditions, not lead to a joint response from the alliance, or, if there were a response, it would be slow, weak and lacking the will and determination to drive out Russian forces. To face Putin in a possible lightning conflict in Eastern Europe, the alliance needs a plan to get its best soldiers, vehicles and equipment to the Russian border, and this is done very quickly and above all safely. And it is with this in mind that the alliance is finalizing plans to create maritime corridors in the North Sea, Baltic Sea and Mediterranean, and land corridors across Europe, aiming to allow a rapid and safe flow of troops, vehicles, weapons, ammunition and logistical supplies. According to a report in the Telegraph, NATO is in the final stages of expanding ports and naval bases in the Netherlands, Greece, Italy and Norway, to allow the landing of tens of thousands of troops, equipment and vehicles at once. From ports in Norway, alliance troops can quickly spread to Sweden and Finland, a country that directly borders Russia. From Dutch ports, the alliance can quickly reach the Baltic countries, which also directly border Russia. And through ports in Italy, Greece and Turkey, the alliance would protect the Mediterranean and its southern flank, and could also send troops from there to Romania and Bulgaria on the Black Sea. At the NATO summit in Vilnius in 2023, It was decided that these ports and corridors must be capable of allowing the movement of at least 300,000 troops, all of them duly accompanied by thousands of vehicles, armored vehicles, aircraft, weapons, ammunition and supplies, which will reach the conflict points in Eastern Europe mainly by rail, with roads also playing an important role. With the Russian invasion of Ukraine increasing in intensity, even including the opening of a new front in Kharkiv, and with Russia increasing the tone and intensity of its threats against the alliance, NATO knows that the prospect of a war against Russia, even if limited to a more peripheral member country, cannot be completely ruled out, and so, the alliance needs to be prepared to respond to this scenario with all its strength. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any news.